It's a question we've been asking for 8 years. Who is recruiting young men from Minnesota to fight for terror groups overseas?
And Tom Lydon of the Fox 9 Investigators is back. He broke the original story back in 2007 when young men first began leaving. Tonight, your investigation is about a man who just may be the missing link in all of these cases.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think he really may give us a sense of what the big picture is that's going on here. It is clear federal prosecutors are building their case from the bottom up. Indict the young recruits, hope they decide to cut a deal, and start naming names. Not just those providing plane tickets and financial support, but just as important, the key players indoctrinating young people ideologically. Those offering a philosophical roadmap to jihad.
They were not confused young men. They were not easily influenced.
We need a peace. We ask him, American government, to give us peace, to give us place.
These are focused men who are intent on joining a terrorist organization by any means possible.
We want the government agency to find out who are behind all this kind of stuff.
Well, you seem to be the guy who connects the dots with all these kids.
If there's anyone who understands how important it is to connect the dots, it's this man, FBI agent Harry Sammet. The Bureau's asked us not to show his face. It was Agent Sammet who arrested Zacarias Moussaoui before 9/11. The so-called 20th hijacker, Moussaoui was attending flight school in the Twin Cities, but wasn't interested in learning how to land planes, just to take off. The Bureau refused to allow Agent Sammet to search Moussaoui's computer until after the 9/11 attacks. Agent Sammet is now among those trying to make sense of the terror trail in Minnesota, a complicated and murky matrix of relationships spanning 8 years and more than 40 young men and a few women who have been indicted on terror charges. Fatima Hussein's son, Guled Omar, is among the latest. The 19-year-old, a security guard at Target, going to community college, a future within his grasp.
She said, Guled is a good kid. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do bad things.
He now sits in jail with 3 of his friends, charged with attempting to travel to Syria to fight for ISIS. Her oldest son, Guled's brother, Ahmed Omar, was among the first wave of men to leave 8 years ago for Somalia to fight for al-Shabaab. His mother hasn't seen or heard from him since.
He left at for a vacation, and she really doesn't know, but she said he probably did go to Somalia.
And the web gets exponentially more complicated with social media and agitators like Mujahid Miski, who left Minneapolis for Somalia in 2008, his keyboard becoming his weapon, encouraging jihadists on Twitter, credited with inspiring the recent attack in Garland, Texas. But community leader Abdi Bihi, whose 15-year-old nephew was recruited and died in Somalia, believes there's always a face-to-face connection.
Yes, social media takes place, but it's kind of like a postgraduate thing that comes in later. But there must be someone on the ground to really listen to your frustrations and channel them into their way of life.
This man, Amir Mashal, may be one of those who can connect the dots. Mashal met many of the accused ISIS recruits at Al Farouk Mosque in Bloomington. The young men gathering there for prayer, religious studies, and to play basketball. As they began leaving for Syria, parents complained Mashal was radicalizing their children. Al Farouk called police last June to have Mashal ticketed for trespassing, telling police, "We have concerns about Mashal interacting with our youth." Mashal has other troubles too. He's on the no-fly list and isn't allowed to use commercial aviation. In a letter last December, Homeland Security makes this chilling statement. It has been determined that you, Amir Mashal, are an individual who represents a threat of engaging in or conducting a violent act of terrorism, and who is operationally capable of doing so. The evidence is classified, blacked out. So what is Amir Mashal doing today? The Fox 9 investigators discovered he's getting his Class A commercial driver's license, learning to drive semi-trucks at Interstate Trucking in South St. Paul, having already completed 80 of 160 hours of classroom instruction. The $4,000 tuition paid for by the state workforce program. In other words, Minnesota taxpayers. Mashal has already passed one FBI background check to drive a school bus. If he passes another, he'll be allowed to even haul toxic materials. When we showed up, Mashal was in no mood to talk about his new career or the ISIS recruits.
Hi, Amir. Hi, Tom Lydon here from Fox 9. I'd like to talk to you about your connection with these kids. Excuse me?
I don't got any connection to anybody.
You don't have to tell. Well, you seem to be the guy who connects the dots with all these kids.
That's nobody.
Excuse me?
You can talk to my lawyer. Thank you.
Talk to your lawyer?
His lawyer with the ACLU points out that Mr. Mashal has never been charged with a crime. And in a statement through his attorney, Amir Mashal says, "I would never suggest that anyone join ISIS or any other group that kills innocent people, nor would I ever provide money to do so. I've been trying to live a normal life like any other citizen, but that is very difficult when false accusations are made against me."
The Fox 9 investigators called Homeland Security in Washington, D.C. and the local FBI to find out if they knew that Amir Mashal, a man who can't get off the no-fly list, is about ready to get his Class A commercial driver's license. What we got back was a no comment, thanks for calling, which raises a couple possibilities. Either they've known about this all along, they've got him under surveillance, or they didn't have a clue until we called.
Come to find out, Mashal's been on the FBI's radar for a long time. In 2007, the FBI arrested Mashal in Kenya as he was leaving an al-Qaeda training camp in Somalia. For 3 months, Mashal, a U.S. citizen, was held in rendition, shuttled between secret prisons in Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia, enduring hours of intense, and he says, brutal interrogation. Mashal claims the FBI offered him a deal: become an informant and his problems would go away. Mashal refused and was released without charges in his native New Jersey. In his statement to the Fox 9 investigators, Mashal says, "I grew up with the values of fairness and justice, and if the government also respected them by owning up to the terrible way it treated me in the past, it would help the rumors and innuendo go away." Mashal, who is of Egyptian descent, has an intriguing family tree. His uncle, Khalid Ibrahim, is an unindicted co-conspirator in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Mashal moved to Minnesota 3 years ago with the assistance of wealthy relatives here who have supported him financially. Last winter, the Fox 9 investigators reported that Mashal got a job as a snowplow driver at the MnDOT garage located just a couple hundred feet from the runway of Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport. Mashal was fired from that job after only a few weeks, and now he wants to drive semi-trucks. I recently asked U.S. Attorney Andy Luger about Mashal recruiting young people at Al Farouk.
Good to hear the same question asked another time.
I never give up.
And you shouldn't. There's nothing in the complaint that talks about Mashal. The only mention of Al Farouk in the complaint is early on with respect to Mr. Yusuf. So I'm going to leave it there. But keep asking.
The more important question may be where exactly Amir Mashal is more dangerous. Is it on a plane, driving a semi-truck, or in a mosque with impressionable teenagers? The best person to answer that question may be FBI agent Harry Samet, a man who knows just how important it is to connect the dots before it's too late.
The owner of Interstate Truck Driving School tells me Mashal has given him no reason to be suspicious of his intentions. Meanwhile, the ACLU has 2 active legal cases on Mashal's behalf against the U.S. government, one for being held prisoner overseas, the other for being kept on the no-fly list. Both cases are on appeal. We have details at the Fox 9 app, guys.
All sorts of eye-opening stuff here, but one thing that kind of stuck out here, I noticed he said he wouldn't do anything to take innocent lives. Who's determining who's innocent here?
I caught that too. I think the choice of words was interesting. I think he chooses his words very carefully. I think that's concerning because it is also something you see on jihadist social media, this notion of who is innocent and who's not and what can be justified. I think that statement maybe raises more questions, quite frankly.
All right, Tom. Well,
Thank
we'll see
you.
where it goes from here. Thanks.